and this idea, and I truly believe in the reason I decided, I was like, hey, we're going to start Experience Night vastly different than we started every other Experience Night. It's going to be very intentional. The reason why is because I want to take you on a journey tonight that started with our worship, and it's going to end somewhere else, but I wanted to start you strategically, and so thank you for going there with me, because I think you started in a really good place. I believe we're going to be on to something really, really excellent and really amazing that I think is going to move in your life in a very powerful way tonight. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Did you bring a Bible tonight? Come on, what are we working with? Okay, you can have Wi-Fi for this if you need your Bible. Let me read it. Can I read you a story? That comes from Luke. Is that okay? Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. We in Luke. Chapter 10. You ever been so excited in life? I'm in that position right now. Like, that's how excited I am. I'm so excited about this story because I believe what happens in the story is so incredible. I actually believe savage Jesus comes out. Savage Jesus. Like, Jesus just goes savage on somebody, and I love it. But you gotta understand the context to understand why he goes savage. So let me explain to you. There's this moment that Jesus is about to teach in Luke chapter 10. And Jesus would teach to crowds, and most often than not, the crowd was primarily made up of Jewish people. Jesus was Jewish. And he was a rabbi, and often people would gather to listen to him, and this occasion is no different. And on this occasion, this narrative that we're going to jump into, this story that we're about to hear, he's in this moment that Jesus is teaching, and we're alluded to understand that the audience would primarily be almost 100% a Jewish audience, Jewish people listening to Jesus. And on this moment, in Luke chapter 10, verse 25, we tune into this moment, and it says, on this occasion, an expert of the law stood up to test Jesus. He says, "Teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" So Jesus responds, he says, "Well, what's written?" He says, "How do you read it?" In other words, what's written? How do you interpret it? How do you interpret it? Mr. Expert of the law. So the expert of the law responds this way to Jesus. He says this. He says, well, it says to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and with all your mind, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So this expert of the law is actually quoting Deuteronomy, because that's where that comes from. And so he quotes Deuteronomy, and Jesus looks at him and says, "You've answered good. You've answered correctly." That's what Jesus says back. "You've answered really well. That's right. That's correct." So he says, "Go and do that then, and you will live." But the expert of the law wasn't quite finished with Jesus, and so in verse 29, he responds back, and he says to Jesus, it says this, he wanted to justify himself to Jesus. So he asked Jesus this, "Who's my neighbor then?" You love that? Like, what do I have to do to get eternal life? He's like, "Well, you tell me, what do you need to do?" And he says, he's like, love God with everything you have, and then love your neighbor. Jesus says, "That's right, that's good, you should do that." He says, right, but who's my neighbor? You know why he asked this question? The expert of the law asked the question for this reason. Because he wants to justify who he has to love. Because in Jewish culture then, to love your neighbor was your fellow Jewish person and no one else. So when it says to love your neighbor, they would have understood that in the context of, I just need to love the Jewish community. I just need to love other Jewish people. Anyone who's non-Jewish, I don't need to love because they're not my neighbor. A Gentile, a Samaritan, I don't need to love them. They're not my neighbor. I don't need to care for them. I don't need to advocate for them. They're not my neighbor. I only need to love. So he's looking for minimum obedience. So he wants to justify himself. He says, "Jesus, who's my neighbor?" And he's looking for this justification, that he's looking for minimum obedience. So he's hopeful Jesus is going to say, just love Jewish people. That's all you have to do. Just love your community, love your people, love your tribe, love your group, love your crew, love your circle. You don't need to worry about anyone else. And so he's looking for this minimum obedience. And so Jesus responds. I love when Jesus responds so often. He never responds with just like an answer. He tells a story. We call them parables. And in this moment, Jesus takes this opportunity to respond to the man says, "Who's my neighbor?" And this is how Jesus responds. It says, in reply, Jesus says this. A Jewish man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. He was attacked by thugs. They stripped him. They stripped him of his clothes, and they beat him and went away, leaving him half dead. They left him half dead. They beat him so bad that he was beat to like an inch of his life that he's left to die. Well, we beat him good enough that he'll just die on his own. Here's what I love. This is why Jesus in this moment is the reason when he tells the story, he goes to establish Jesus. Remember, context is everything to understand the weightiness of what's happening. He's speaking to a Jewish audience. Everyone that's listening is Jewish. And he says, a Jewish man, your person, your tribe, your people, he went on a journey from Jerusalem to Jericho. Also known, that route, by the way, was known as the Way of Blood. For the amount of people that would get jumped, for the amount of people that would get beat up and would get robbed by thugs. On that route was called the Way of Blood. And so, this Jewish man this happens to, and so he carries on with this story. Verse 31 says, a priest, that would be a Jewish person. The hearers would probably think, oh, thank goodness, a priest is coming. The priest is going to save him. The priest is going to help the Jewish man that got beat up and left to die. Naked, stripped, vulnerable, exposed. The priest is going to help him because he's Jewish, so he should look out for his own tribe. He's Jewish, but also he's priest. He's morally upright. He should do the right thing. Thank goodness, I'm so glad the story is going this way. The priest is going to save the day. That's what the hearers would think. But instead the story goes like this. It says, but a priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. Can you imagine being a Jewish person listening to the story, and you're told that your tribe, a Jewish man, got beat up so bad to an inch of his life, and the priest comes by, and the priest just crosses the road and leaves him. Savage Jesus, telling savage stories. The priest happened to be going down the road, so he crosses to the other side. So too a Levite. Now a Levite was like a priest assistant. He helped in the temple. So he's also Jewish. Remember, he's speaking to a Jewish audience, Phoebe. So every example so far has been a Jewish person because they think to love my neighbor, I only need to love another Jewish person. And he's saying, okay, Jewish audience, there's a Jewish man that's been jumped. He got jumped, left for dead. The priest walks to the other side. And now a Levite, who should be morally upright, he came to the same place, and he saw the man, and he too also passed on the other side. Imagine if you're in the audience, you're like, come on, man, these are my people. And they're like, they just abandoned my own people. And then Jesus is about to go savage with somebody. He says this, verse 33, he says, but, whenever a story has a but in it, you know something's about to happen. He says this, he says, but a Samaritan. To understand why Jesus went savage just now. You missed it. You didn't realize Jesus went savage on somebody. The Samaritans and the Jewish people did not get along. In fact, there was racial tension. They were arch enemies. They didn't like each other. Jewish people hated Samaritans. And Jesus, when he's asked, who's my neighbor, decides to tell a parable where he says, you, Jewish audience, there was a Jewish man that got jumped by thugs, left for half dead. The priest comes, he crosses the road. The Levite comes, he crosses the road. But a Samaritan, who you hate and dislike and are in tension with and are in conflict with, he comes. The Samaritan comes, and it says, as he traveled, and he came to where the man was, and he saw him, he took pity on the man. He went to him, and he bandaged his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. Then he put the man on his own donkey, and he brought the man to the inn and took care of him. The next day, which meant he took care of him overnight, to make sure he saw the man through the night. The man was beat within an inch of his life. It's like, I gotta see you through the night to make sure you're gonna make it on me, that you're not gonna die on me. The next day, he took 2 denarii. That means that's 2 days' salary. That means he worked for 2 days for free because he took all that money and he gave it to the innkeeper. And he says, look after him. And he said, when I return, which means he's coming back to make sure the guy makes it. He says, when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra money, for any extra costs that occurred for his stay. Jesus looks back at the teacher of the law, the expert of law, and he says this. He says, so which one of these 3 do you think was the neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the thugs? The expert of the law looks at Jesus and says this. He says, the expert of the law replied, the one who had mercy on him. So Jesus says, go and do the same. I'm an advocate. You know, the etymology of the word, etymology means like, where did the word come from? What's the root of the word? The root of the word of etymology is the etymology of the word advocate is avocare, to care for somebody. And in this moment, the Samaritan is avocaring. He's an advocate for the man who got beat, for the man who got beat up. And what I love is in this story, the reason Jesus goes savage on this audience that's listening is like, you think to love your neighbor, you only need to love your own tribe, your own people. That's not the heart of God. That kind of division to love only your people. So he goes on to make his point, and he responds with this story by saying, there was a Jewish man who got jumped and beat to an inch of his life. He was left there to die. And a priest came and he crossed the road, and a Levite, he came and he crossed the road. But a Samaritan came who you don't like. You don't get, there's racial tension, and yet he came to love his neighbor, be an advocate for the one who got beat up, be an advocate for the one who's dying. Because in God's kingdom, there are no prerequisites who we advocate for. There's no prerequisites for who we care for. So he's saying to the audience, listen, audience, Mr. Expert of the Law, don't look for minimum obedience. I'm calling for total obedience. I'm calling for you to love all people around you, regardless of tribe, regardless of economic standing, regardless of religion, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background. I'm calling you to love all people, to advocate for all people, that there's no prerequisite. You don't just love your fellow Jewish man, you love the Samaritan who you guys don't get along. There's racial tension, that's who you love. And you think, wow, that's not me. I love all people. I'm not a bigot. I don't hate people. But if I may. That's why when you walk by the person eating by themselves in your school, well, they ain't part of my tribe. They ain't part of my crew or my friend circle. I'm not like this guy. I would never cross the road when I saw someone in need, because I'm not like that. Like they were playing, they had lines. Oh, okay. So when we walk by people every day in our life, we walk by the lonely, the people eating by themselves, the people with no friends in our school, people who are desperate. I don't think we're stepping out in the way that God's heart is to be an advocate. So we might be like, well, I'm not like this guy. Like, I'm not like the priest and the Levite who comes to the street. I don't draw tribal lines like that. But I think when it comes to community, we draw tribal lines all the time. Well, they ain't in my crew, they ain't in my tribe. But I think God's called us to be an advocate, because I believe God is the greatest advocate. I believe God is, his heart is an advocate. He is an advocate. He is the ultimate advocate. When he advocated for people, when he sent the Son. When this catastrophic event happened, that humanity was torn out of relationship with God, and so he advocates for humanity by sending his Son. I'm going to send my Son to advocate for people, to rebuild relationship between humanity and myself. And that moment, Jesus is on the cross, and we're entering that season, and right now, currently, like we're going into the Easter season. There's that moment when Jesus is hanging on the cross, and he's been beat up and spit on, and he's been mocked and ridiculed, and he's standing, and he's hung on this cross, and he's currently in the process of dying, and the people are still mocking him, the soldiers that have beat him. He looks at them, and he advocates to the Father, Father, forgive them, for they don't know what's going on, they don't know what's happening. He advocates for the people that have beat him and mocked him and spit on him, and yet he still continues to advocate for them, because that's the heart of the Father. Amen. To advocate for people, to advocate for you. It says that now Jesus, now that he's been resurrected, now sits at the right hand of the Father, and he continues to advocate for you to the Father. Jesus is the ultimate advocate, and I believe if we want to become like Jesus, if we're in that process, if we know who Jesus is and we start a relationship, and God's in the process of putting his heart into you, giving you the same values that he has, which means that we need to have the heart of an advocate, to care for people, to advocate for people, to advocate for people, and the people that you don't know, and the people that you do know. That we need to be advocates. This is what Isaiah says. He says in Isaiah 1:17, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless, plead the case of the widow. And in Jeremiah 22 it says, rescue from the hand of the oppressor, the one who has been robbed. Do no wrong or violence to the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow. God has the heart of an advocate, to advocate on behalf of people, and I believe we need to have the heart and the mindset that we are advocates, and we advocate on behalf of people. And they're the people that we walk by every single day. We don't need to think like, well, I need to advocate for something so like global, and you need to advocate for the person that you walk by every day that's lonely and by themselves, and the person whose parent is going through divorce. And the people who are left half dead. I know there's that moment when it says that the man was left half dead. Half dead means that he's on his way to death, that he got beat up so bad he's on. There are people that you know that are living a life where they're operating half dead. The divorce their parents are going through has left them half dead. The financial struggles their family is in has left them half dead. The relationships and the friendships that are going on, the gossip that's happening has left them half dead. The cyberbullying has left them half dead. The loneliness they're facing has left them half dead. The depression, the anxiety they're facing has left them half dead. There are people that are operating around you in a half dead state. Because life has gotten so beat up. You know, there's this moment at the very beginning of the story when she starts telling it, there's a fight that happens. I think we miss it because we just jump right into the story, but there's a fight. And what happens in this fight is there's guys traveling from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he's on his journey, and he gets into a fight, and the fight, he didn't ask for the fight. He didn't say, hey, I'd like to get into a fight to get on my route to Jericho. He gets jumped. The guy gets jumped, and he gets assaulted, and he gets beat up, and this group of thugs come and attack him. He didn't ask for the fight. It wasn't a fair fight. Can I tell you something? In life, there are times that life will jump you. Life will get you. Life will blindside you. And it ain't a fair fight. It's not like, well, this could turn out either way. It's like, this ain't going to work. This isn't going to work out. And there's times that life blindsides you, and your parents all says, hey, we're getting a divorce. You're blindsided by that. You feel like that thug called divorce came at you. And there are things that are coming at you, and we find ourselves often in fights. And I look at this room like, this guy gets jumped. He didn't see it coming. He didn't ask for it. It's not a fair fight. It's multiple people against one. That's not fair. And I think there's so often that we find ourselves in a fight that life has brought to us, that circumstances have happened. When we find ourselves in a fight, there's oftentimes that we find our friends in a fight, and people we know in a fight. And this is kind of like what happens in is Serena around. Serena, are you here? I need you. Come up to the front here. Put your hands up, like, don't hit me, but you want to hit me. So often what happens is life comes at us and we get into a fight. No, I'm serious, get ready to fight me. And what's what happens? You guys ever watch Rocky? Anyone ever seen the movie Rocky or Creed? One of those two. You're the Creed generation, I'm the Rocky generation. Hollywood boy, older people. But often, if you ever watch boxing or MMA or anything like that, this is what happens in life. This is what happens in the match. In between rounds, the coach comes in. Sit right here for a second. What happens is the coach comes in. The coach comes in like this, with the water, and he hydrates, and he marks. They put the petroleum jelly on it, and they give coaching advice. This is this. They say, well, they're coming in from your left, so you want to make sure you get that right up, and then you want to come in with that jab, and you're coming around, you gotta get your feet going. They come in with all this advice, and then what happens is the next round's about to start. So the coach does this. The coach gets out of the ring for the next round because they don't want to be in the fight. I think so often, just stay here this whole time. No, you can stand, but just stay there. I think so often it's what happens in life. Friends that we have, family members that we have, people that we know, life happens and a fight starts. And maybe it's cancer, and maybe it's divorce, and maybe it's depression, and maybe it's things, maybe it's school's not going the way that you thought school, and you're struggling in school, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a fight. And so often friends come in, they come in with nice phrases. Like, oh, it's okay, like, oh, you'll do better, it'll get better. God wouldn't give you anything that you can't handle. That's not true. But we come in with these nice phrases like, oh, it's okay, you'll get through it. But really, what if I don't get through it? What if the fight, I got blindsided by this thing in life, and I'm not going to get through it? And we come in like coaches in intermissions, and we come in with nice phrases that don't help nobody. It's like, hey, you'll get through it. It's going to be okay. It's like, what if I don't get through it? What if I don't get through it? What if my family breaking up, I don't ever recover from that? What if the financial situation that my family's in, we don't recover from that? What if the grieving process I'm in because somebody I love died? What if I don't recover from that? And there's fights that we get into, and there's fights that our friends get into because they're in this fight in life, and we come in with nice phrases, and we try to say the right thing, but often it's actually not helpful, because you know what's helpful? It's not helpful coming in like a coach with a nice phrase and then getting out of the fight when the fight carries on from them. Because so often, like, you're going through a trial and a fight in life, and say, okay, well, here's a nice phrase, like, you're going to get through it, and then I get out of their situation, rather than strapping up and getting involved in their fight. So here's how, like Michelle's so good at this. Michelle's my wife. She's such an advocate. She's such a good advocate. Sometimes I really do struggle. And she's so good. And I remember there was, just very recently in the last couple of weeks, Michelle's frantically on her phone one night, and I'm watching TV, and she's texting like crazy. And I'm watching her text, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, who are you talking to? What's happening? And she says, I'm talking to my friend. And she's typing vigorously, and I'm like, well, what's going on? She's like, hey, I need to e-transfer somebody some money. I'm like, who are we sending money to? What is happening? Why are we sending money? And she's like, well, my really dear friend, who I don't really know the person, but she's like, my dear friend, has been going through cancer. And this friend of hers was doing really well in life, and she's my age, and she's like 30, and she had gone through her post-secondary, and she got her education degree, and she moved to the Okanagan, and she's been teaching. She became a teacher up there, and she's been doing really well. She's been loving life. And then out of nowhere, one day she goes to the doctor, and she got jumped. She got jumped by life, by this thug called cancer. And she gets jumped by this thug called cancer, and blindsided because there was no forewarning, there was no talk, there was no preemptive knowledge of it. There was no forewarning. She just got jumped on her route from Jerusalem to Jericho. I'm just trying to do life. I'm doing well. I got my career. I got my education. I'm going to become a teacher. I am a teacher. I'm doing well. I got my place in the Okanagan. I'm doing life's good. And then I get jumped by this thug called cancer. And so Michelle was talking to her, and she was expressing just everything I had is just cancer's taken, the thugs have taken all. In the story when it says they stripped the guy. They stripped him down. They left him for dead. It's this is what cancer's doing to me. It took my job. It took my career. I don't work anymore because the chemo is my full-time job. This is my full-time job now, is dealing with this fight. And she's telling Michelle this, it's taken my job. It's taken everything I've worked for. It's taken the education I went and got, because I can't do that now. And it's taken this, and it's taken this. And then she says to Michelle, and I've lost all my hair. And when I look in the mirror, I don't know who I am anymore, because the thugs took that too. They left me half dead. And I'm in a fight. And you know what Michelle did? Michelle, she could have said, oh, you'll get through it. What if she doesn't get through it? What if this cancer takes her life? Sometimes those phrases don't work. So Michelle decides she's going to scrap up. So as she's texting frantically, what she's doing, she's actually strapping up her own gloves. I'm going to get in your fight. I'm going to do this with you. And she's like, your cancer took your job. The thug took your job. The thug took your work. The thug took your finances. Over my dead body is the thug going to take your self-worth. Over me is that thug called cancer going to take your self-identity. How much is a wish? It's $600. I will buy you two. So Michelle's just sending money over over me. I'm going to get in that fight with you. What do you need? That's not taking anything more. That thug already left you half dead. I'm coming behind you. I got you. I'm getting in your fight. What do you need? And she advocated for her. And she's like, it's taking my job. It's taking everything I had. And now it's taking my self-worth because I look in the mirror and I don't recognize myself. I don't know who I am. And so Michelle says, I'm going to get in that fight. I'm going to advocate for you. What will it require for you not to lose that self-worth? And she's like, I just need a wig, but I can't afford a wig because I'm not working because chemo is my full-time job. Michelle said, I will advocate for that. I will buy you the wig. I think there's times that we got to advocate for our friends, that we don't just come in like a coach with nice phrases and trying to encourage them without getting in the fight, because I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. That's nothing. It's not an advocate. That's not God's heart when He says defend the oppressed. When you defend somebody who's oppressed, that means probably got to fight something. You got to defend them. Recently my friend, who's my age, she was going through life, and there was no dramatic moment for her like that. Just everything kind of caved in on her. But just, in life you have ambitions, you have hopes, you have dreams. And she thought by these certain milestones she would have reached certain dreams. Like at this age, this would have happened for me, and at this age, this would happen for me, and at this age, this would happen for me. But in her life, these things never happened the way that she had hoped, predicted, and planned. And so she starts to get so discouraged in her life. This is very recent. This is within the last few weeks, and she getting so discouraged. So in the last number of weeks, my friend, who is so dear to me, and I actually look up to, starts to compromise on so many areas of their life. Being like, well, my bar was up here because I believe God called me to live a life up here, but then because of that, nothing's working out. The things that I wanted and I planned and I predicted aren't happening, so I'm just going to start compromising on everything. And I'm watching them step into a life that I know is not right, that I know is not helpful. They're going down certain paths that I know is going to lead to destruction and devastation and broken hearts. And so I thought to myself, I was like, man, I so badly want to advocate for my friend, but I don't know what to do, because there's this place, come to this place where they're so discouraged. You ever been in a place where your life you're just so discouraged? And so I decided I'm just going to start speaking into my friend's life, because Ephesians 3:20 says to expect more, that God can do incomparably more than you can imagine. I said, they're not believing Ephesians 3:20 over their own life, so I'm going to believe it for them. Come on, somebody. I'm going to believe Ephesians 3:20 for them. So I decided, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I'm just going to start encouraging them every single day. I started texting them. I hit them on Messenger. I started inviting Dad. I was like, just every weekend, just be at our place. Be at our place. Because I wanted to be under our banner and under our house, so we could speak truth into their life. We could speak encouragement. And I could start to prophesy Ephesians 3:20 into their life, because they decided to stop believing it. Doesn't mean I can't advocate and believe it for them. Oh. Because I'm not going to give up on my friend watching them go down a path that I know is going to lead to a very negative place. And a destructive place. And we even said, don't you think this will lead you to a destructive place? They said, yeah, but at least I would have what I want. I'm going to believe something better for your life. I'm going to start speaking into you. I'm going to just come at you at every front. I'm going to bring messenger, texting, phone calls, come over. Like, we're just going to speak that. I remember they're in our house like a few nights back, and I said, the topic came up about just everything going on. And I remember, Michelle said I was yelling. I don't believe that, but I probably was. And I said to them, I just wanted to get in their fight. I said, I'm just not satisfied watching you go down this path, so I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to have to fight somebody off of you. And I remember just speaking into their life. I said, stop everything that you're doing. Step back into your anointing. Step back into your relationship with God. God has so much more for you. Stop believing the lie of the enemy. Step back into the promises and the guarantees that God has already spoken over you. Because there's sometimes there's people in our lives that aren't going to believe those things over them, so you got to believe it for them. That's an advocate. Michelle's other friend, all my stories are Michelle's because she's just so good. My other story is Michelle's a close girlfriend who has 2 young boys, and she was married, and again she's like our age, and one day Michelle says to me, she says, hey, you know my friend, I offered a house to them, to her and the boys. I said, oh, okay. What had happened in her friend's life was that her home had become unsafe, emotionally and physically. Had become an unsafe home. Michelle could have said, like a coach coming in, could have said, oh, you should get out of there, it's not safe. That's not an advocate. Michelle is an advocate. She believes in that. She operates in that. So she says, okay, I'm recognizing that your home is no longer safe for you. You need somewhere to go. Rather than just saying, hey, you should go somewhere, that's not a solution. A solution is this, is what Michelle does. Michelle says, your home's no longer safe for you. You're moving in with us. Now you got to understand, we live in a small apartment. She got 2 boys, and her, and us, and we got a cat. And this was before Taya. And she says, you got to move in with us because your home's no longer safe. So bring the boys, bring yourself, bring your stuff, and get in our apartment and move in. And I remember Michelle was telling this to somebody that she knows, that, hey, I invited my friend to move in with just bring out everything, just bring it all, just move in, because I'd rather her be safe in our place than be in an unsafe place. That's an advocate. And this person says to Michelle, I think that's a bad decision. Like, why would you do that? They're invading your space. Michelle told me this, this person responded this way, and I was like, because they don't understand the heart of God, for one, and 2, they don't understand what it means to be an advocate. They don't understand what it means to put on, strap up, and get in someone's fight. I'm not satisfied hearing my friends in an unsafe place and be okay with that, but you should get out of there and hopefully find a place. That's not an advocate. That's advice. An advocate says, come, move in, come in, you're in our place, come under our roof, come under our place, we got you, bring all your stuff, bring your kids, bring everything, that's an advocate. How many times have there been people in your life that you know that are in a fight? They've been left half dead. And you got to strap up. And you got to get in the fight, and not just coming along with nice phrases like, hey, I want to encourage you, but rather I want to actually get in your fight. I want to get beside you. And here's the best part. I think this is the role of the crew. This is why I think we believe in crew so much. And this is why I'm so tired of ministry where it's hey, bring a friend, bring a guy. It's I don't care about truthfully, I actually don't care about that. I care all about your crew. That's why Experience Night is once a month and crew is every other week, every week of the month, because I believe so deeply in your crew of people that you've committed to. Here's why. Because when Serena's in a fight, in life. Something in life has blindsided, something in life has jumped her. There's something that's come at her, whether it's a health diagnosis, whether it's divorce, whether it's finances, whether it's depression, whatever's come at her, she's blindsided. And often we start our fight strong because we energize, like, okay, I can handle this. I can deal with my depression. I can deal with my anxiety. I can deal with the situation and the circumstance that I'm facing. The grieving process that I'm in because someone I love is passed or is sick. I said, I can deal with that. But over time, you get worn down. I can't, I don't got it in me for this fight, God. I've got nothing left, God. And often we're like, God, God, I need you to come in and back me up. But often we've misunderstood that He's actually already given you the tool, which is called community. And this is the role of the crew. This is why we so deeply believe in crew. That your crew is so important to you, not just because it's where you go every Friday night when you meet up with your crew, because it's not about just showing up to something. We're not about attendance, we're about belonging. And this is what crews do. I need to borrow all of you right here. I need like 4 of you right now. Like Amelia, yeah. Is it Rachel? Yeah, come. Like Christina, come. Aldrin, come. Aldrin, who's ever beside you, I can't see them, bring them. Bring the crew. Aldrin, who's beside you, bring them. Person who is beside Aldrin, I don't know who you are, come, I can't see you. Come, yeah, great. Are you Aldrin, brother? You look amazing. Come on, Aldrin, brother. Hey, come over here, crew. This is what happens. Amelia's been hit. Not Amelia. Serena's been hit with like terrible news, and yeah, you got punched. It's terrible. This is what the crew does. Come Aldrin, brother. This is no, get in front of her, get in the fight, Aldrin, get in the fight. Strap up. Serena's in a fight, crew. Get in front of her, Aldrin, get in front. Come on. Let's go, come on. This is, yeah, they're right here, let's fight someone. I'm so glad that nobody understands how to fight, like physically. This is great news, because you're all living life really well. I don't want to lose you, let me make my point. This is my point about why crew is so important. So often in life, you face a fight and you do it alone. You don't need to do it alone because we have crews. You're in a crew, and if you're not, you should be in a crew. Can I encourage you, get in a crew? Because when you get faced with a fight, you never have to face your fight alone. Come on, I want to make this point so well for you. That when you face a fight, you don't do it alone because your crew should come behind you and beside you and in front of you like this. So when Serena comes to crew night, she says, terrible news, like I found out like this person I deeply love, like my aunt, my uncle, my mom, whoever got diagnosed with this terrible news, and I don't know what to do with it. It's like, don't worry, we got you, we in your fight. What do you need? What does your family need? We're going to bring meals. We're going to care for you. We're going to pray for you. We're going to intercede for you. We're going to love on you. We got you. We're in your fight. We're not just going to say, hey, you're going to get through it. No. Because we're with you. Because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the outcome. But we're in this. We're in this with you. And so this is the role of the crew. The crew is not just, hey, my mom says I should go, or I signed up so I should go. No. The crew is something that's tangible and happening in your life is powerful. It's about relationship and belonging. It's about backup. So when you face your fights, when school's not going the way you thought it was, and you're down, it's like, I'm just struggling, I'm not getting it, it's like, I'm not doing well, and like because of that, like my relationship with my parents is strained, and like their expectation that life's all caving in, it's like your crew comes beside you. They get in your fight. We're with you in this. And your friend's really good at what you're not, so let me tutor you, because I'm in this fight with you, I'm not just going to leave you there. Come on, can we do it? Okay, come on, wow, thank you. You guys can grab a seat. Yeah, you're good. Come on, thanks, Serena. Let's give Serena a big hand. We love you, Serena. I want to make this my last point. This is my last point. There are times that we can advocate for people very tangibly. Right? There are times that I can bring you a meal when you need something, when your family's struggling. There's times that I can buy you a wig when chemo took all your hair. It's like I can come in, there's things I can physically provide for you and advocate for you with and meet tangible needs. But then there are times that there's somebody you know that gets hit with a fight. Guys, listen up. There's people in your life, I don't want you to miss this because you need to be an advocate for people in your life, so don't miss this. That they get hit with something that you don't know what to do with it. And so your friend shares with you, or maybe it's your life and you get told news, or there's a circumstance going on in your life, the things that you're facing. You know, I don't know what to do with that because there's nothing I can provide them, there's nothing I can actually physically do for them, there's nothing I can actually bring them, there's nothing I can purchase for them, there's nothing I can provide for them. And so then you get lost. Can I tell you something? That's where you have to back them up spiritually. It's called spiritual backup. Because there's nothing I can physically bring you. So when your friends come to you and say, oh, my mom got diagnosed with cancer, it's like I can't come in and physically take that and bring restoration and healing to that. It's like I can't provide that. So what do? We get stuck sometimes when we face such fights and the thoughts have come and we've been blindsided by life and we've been jumped by life and we don't know what to do. And there's friends that we're just stumped. Like, man, I don't know how to like respond, or like, I don't know how to advocate for you or care for you. Can I tell you something? That's when we back them up spiritually. Because there's power in your worship, there's power in your prayers, and there's power in your fasting. That's why God calls us to prayer, worship, and fasting. When you worship, things move. When we pray, breakthrough happens. When we fast for stuff, God brings overcoming and miracles. And so there's times there are things going on in your friend's life that you gotta start praying for and worshiping like you in a fight. Not just showing up like, well, like they're doing music, like I don't know what's going on. Often, can I tell you this? Often when I look at people who worship, can I tell you something? You can tell by someone's worship if they've been in a fight before or not. By how they worship. I'm serious. I'm not messing tonight at Experience Night. There are times I look at people's worship, I'm like, that person's been in a fight. Because they know the delivering power of the Holy Spirit. They know what God can do. There are times that we have to intercede and advocate on behalf of people through our worship, through our prayers, and through our fasting. I remember when Michelle and I were trying to have a kid, and we couldn't. We were like we had been told we had infertility, like we would never have a kid. And so they said that, but we can solve that medically. There's IVF and in vitro fertilization. We can just do that. So like, yeah, let's do IVF. We do IVF. It's a whole thing. We do the whole thing, and at the end of it, after all the embryos came and went, we had no kid. Wow. Like it's okay. We'll just do it again. So we start the process a second time. I remember one night we invited some friends over, and I said, we need to start praying, man. We need to start interceding. Come on. We gotta start worshiping. My friend Andrea Young, if you know that name, she leads worship here sometimes on Sunday mornings. Andrea came over. She brought her guitar. Her voice is more anointed than mine. So I said, you sing. You worship. You sound beautiful. I'll just be in the spirit doing something. Andrea comes over. She starts playing her guitar in our living room. She starts playing her music. She starts leading me and my closest friends in worship. And we start to sing. And then my friend said, we're going to have a time of intercession. Intercession means to intercede on behalf of somebody, to step in the gap. In other words, to advocate. To intercede means to advocate. So they say, hey, we're going to pray for you, Caroline. Hey, Michelle, we're going to pray for you. We're believing in miracles. We're believing in Ephesians 3:20 over your life. They prayed for us. I was in New York, and then this guy I met just had a prophetic word. I've never met you, but I actually had this word, and it was for somebody who's facing infertility, and I just met you in a crowd of 18,000, and I'm bringing you a prophetic word over your life that God sees you in your fight. I was like, wow. We come back, and we're in our second round of IVF, and something wasn't going right, so we went to the infertility clinic. We said, something's not quite right, like it was the first time we did this. They checked it, and they said, that's because you're pregnant. It ain't going to work when you're pregnant. We're like, when the miracles start to happen, when the impossible starts to happen, because people start to advocate for us supernaturally and spiritually, we're going to start fasting for you. We're going to start praying for your situation, your circumstance. We're going to start covering you with prayer. There are times that you got to back your friend up spiritually, because there's nothing you can buy them, there's nothing you can bring them, there's nothing you can do, but you can jump in their fight. You can strap up through your worship. You can strap up through your prayers. You can strap up by fasting for their situation. Come on, am I right? This is what Ephesians, can I close with this? This is what Ephesians says. Ephesians says this, come on, let's stand. That was my intro, now I want to get going. This is what Ephesians 1 says. Come on, let's stand. Boys, can we stand? Come on, let's stand. Ephesians 1 says this, come on. Says, I pray that the eyes of your heart may be enlightened, in order that you may know the hope to which He has called you, the riches, catch this, the riches of His glorious inheritance to His people. An inheritance to His people, that's you. If you have a relationship with God, that's you. And His incomparably great power for us who believe. Wow. Come on. Can I read it again? I want you to catch this. don't want you to leave tonight without witnessing this. He says this, to those who have the richness of the glorious inheritance, my people, and the incomparably great power for us who believe. The power is the same as the mighty strength he exerted when he raised Christ from the dead. That means the resurrection power that brought Jesus from death to life. That same power by inheritance, if you believe in God, you have access to. It says that by inheritance you have access to that same power, the incomparably great power. So when we worship, things move. When we pray, things move. When we fast for situations, things move. When your friend's going through a fight and you advocate for them and we pray, it's all we don't just say, oh, like, can God listen, God, that way, and there's no power behind it. There's power behind it. Come on, somebody. There's power for miracles. There's power for breakthrough. The same power that raised Jesus from the dead, all the time, he knows. I told you, there's times you look at somebody, you know somebody that's been in a fight. I've been in a fight. I'm watching my friends in their fight. And I don't want to just stand by and watch them go down the path that they're going down and watch cancer take everything from them. I'm going to strap up. And sometimes I look at my friends, and my few friends that have cancer right now, and I look at them and I've already lost some of my dearest friends, like Jane Todd, we lost and we love her, and it's like, so I don't want to just stand by and not get in their fight. I want to advocate for them. I'm going to pray some stuff out. I'm going to worship some stuff like King Jehoshaphat. Like, what else do I have? This vast army's coming. I said, I can't beat that army. I can't beat cancer. I can't beat divorce. I can't beat financial situations. I can't beat my depression. King Jehoshaphat, I can't beat this vast army. I can't do it. So King Jehoshaphat realizes this. I can't fight that army. It won't be a fair fight. We'll lose. So he says, my only solution is I go forth with my worship, and I put it at the front, and I'm going to worship my victory up. I'm going to worship my victory. I'm going to go for it with my worship. I'm going to step out in the power, the same power that raised Jesus from the dead. That's the power that I'm going to worship with, that I'm going to pray out with, that I'm going to fast for. So when I fast for your situation, I'm going to believe in a miracle. I'm going to believe in overcoming. I'm going to believe in victory. So whatever it is you're going on, whatever's happening in your life, whatever fight you're facing, it's not a fair fight, that's life. And you got jumped and blindsided by something in life. Can I tell you something? We're going to intercede for it. We're going to worship for it. We're going to worship like we're in your fight with you, because we are. Can we do it tonight? Come on. I need you to come with me in this. Because I'm believing so deeply in a generation of young people that don't just want to gather to play dodgeball, because dodgeball doesn't bring deliverance. I want to gather a generation of young people who are going to believe in the power of the Holy Spirit and are going to advocate for the lonely and the marginalized and the depressed and the destitute. I'm going to advocate for my friends that are going through something. I'm not satisfied with just watching it. I'm not satisfied with just hitting the share button, because that's not advocacy, that's an action. I'm going to get in the fight. I'm going to defend the widow and the orphan. Whatever happened to you running away from Jerusalem to Jericho, whatever happened from you in your life from here to here, it's like I'm going to get in with you. I recognize it, I see it. I'm getting in, I'm joining in, I'm strapping up. I want somebody. So we're going to go into worship right now, believing, proclaiming that when the lyrics say, Jesus, we need your spirit to break out, spirit break out. That we say that with power, the same power that rose Jesus from the dead, that incomparably great power. So whatever situation you know is going on in your life, your friend's life, your family's life, or somebody you know, when we go into worship, I need you to have that in the forefront of your mind, that God, when we sing Spirit Break Out, we're singing it prophetically. Spirit break out in my friend's cancer. Spirit break out in my friend's circumstance. Spirit break out in my friend's depression. Spirit break out in the divorce that's happening in my friend's family. Spirit break out in my financial situation. Spirit break out in my work. Spirit break out in my school. Spirit break out. We're going to go forth with power. Come on, somebody. We're going to see breakthrough. Come on. We want to believe in miracles that are going to happen in this place. Can we believe it? Come on. Can we believe it? Come on.